Hi, I'm Peter. In one of my newest courses, Introduction to Electronics, I showed you how to use an online simulator to make it easier for you to learn the basic concept of electronics so that you can get started with electronics without having to have the actual components in a workbench and bench instruments that can add up to the cost. So in that course I used CircuitLab, and you can see one of the experiments here. It's pretty easy. Basically it's a drag and drop interface, and once you're ready you can click on the simulate button and have a look at the voltages and the currents as they're flowing around the circuit, the simulated circuit. Since then I came across Crump. This is a three-dimensional simulator that I kind of knew about, but I left it for later because when I first came across it, it was very early in its development and things were just moving too fast. I couldn't keep track of it, and it wasn't reliable enough actually to use it for my courses. But now I had another look because one of my students alerted me to the fact that a new version had come out, which was quite interesting to prompt me to take another look. So here it is. This is Crump, and it's a Steam application, or it's distributed through the Steam gaming network. It takes advantage of all the fancy gaming 3D technologies, and it just looks amazing. So it is not free, it is a paid for software. In this video I just wanted to give you a very quick introduction to Crump and have a look at some of its capabilities, keeping in mind that it is very, very early in its life cycle, and a few things don't work or don't work as well as they should, in my opinion, which for me, at least as an educator, means that I don't think it's ready for prime time, to be able to rely on it for simulations, but it is just a matter of time before this software is actually there, ready to use. So you can see in this example, I've got a resistor and a capacitor with a switch in between so that I can charge and discharge the capacitor. And I've got a scope here that allows me to see the voltages coming through. Actually, voltage and the current as it's flowing through this capacitor. So I'm going to start this project from scratch and just show you how it is to work with a simulator whose main feature is the 3D environment in which you work. Right, so you start with a blank 3D space. Pretty interesting. There's buttons up here that allow you to change the quality of the 3D environment, but I want to keep the quality good enough but not crazy for the purposes of the simulation, because it does add up to the load that it puts on the system. So you can see down here the frequency right now for the simulation is 200 Hertz and a step of 5 milliseconds, which means that the algorithm inside the simulator will be doing these calculations to calculate voltages and currents and anything else that needed to be calculated at this frequency and at that step. And you can change all that here. So if you have a more capable system or computer, you can increase or decrease the simulation frequency. I'm going to play around with these levers here a bit later just to show you the effect that it has on the simulation. So I'll click on apply and close, and let's begin. First, I'm going to grab a breadboard, and I can place the breadboard, say, around here. Just place it here, click, check, and we're done. And you can zoom in and out and pan left, right, and so on. Next, I am going to grab a resistor. So let's make this resistor, I'm going to make it, just going to follow my example here, I'm going to make it 10 kilo ohms. And I'm going to place it, say, between this hole in the breadboard and this one here. Done. So exit out of that. Now let's add a switch. Actually, I'll go for the capacitor and do the switch last. So for the capacitor, I'd like this capacitor to be 100 millifarads ceramic. You can go for electrolytic or ceramic. The difference is, of course, in the package. So click on update, and then I would like to place that, say, between here and here. Okay, so far so good. You can see that the markings on the capacitor are correct. The colors on the resistor are also correct. Now I want to go for the switch so that I can charge and discharge the capacitor. So I'll go to the passive set of components and grab one of those switches and add that here. So I'll put that right here. Actually, let's move. You can see it's got to go right on the holes for it to be able to drop it. So that's a good spot. I'll drop it here. Done. So let's drop one power rail. I'll need one, and I'm going to place that around here. It snaps on right there. All right, and now that I've got the power rail, I'll go for the jumper wires. So I'll start with a black jumper wire to connect capacitor to the ground power rail, like that. Then I will go for a red jumper wire to connect the red power rail to the resistor, like that. And I'm going to grab a couple of, let's make them brown jumper wires. I'll connect the resistor from here to this pin of the switch, and a yellow jumper wire to connect the capacitor to the switch. When the switch is on the left position, the capacitor will charge. And I'll set it so that when it's in the right position, the capacitor will discharge. All right, let's move back a little. I'm going to grab another resistor. I'll make this a bit larger. I'll make that 100 kilo ohms as well. I'm going to connect that from here to here. Oops, that's actually incorrect. I should have connected this resistor from this pin of the switch to this pin of the capacitor to get it discharged. Unfortunately, I can't redo the resistor. So the way to fix this would be to just delete it. So click on the resistor. There's a delete button up there. Just click on that and the resistor disappears. So let's try again. I've got 100,000 ohms. That's good. And I go from this hole to right here. I'm going to zoom in a little so I can target it. There you go. Done. Just move to the side a little. Okay, I had to struggle a little with this because other components were in the way. All right, so that's it. Now, I'm just going to make a little change here. I'm going to change the lighting because my computer is a little slow as it's doing this. And I suspect it may have something to do with the quality that I'm running. So I'm just going to make it a little bit easier by removing the lighting from the scene. And unfortunately, that makes it a little dark. But that's one of the problems that I've noticed. It does take quite a few resources, and there's a lot of other things happening on my computer right now, including recording this video. Okay, the next thing is that I need a power source. So up here, you'll see there's power sources. There's a DC up to 12 volt voltage power supply and a 12 volt signal generator. So let's grab the power supply and let's move back. I'm going to position this power supply, say, around here. And then, okay, I like the position, so click on the tick. And then red wire goes to the red power rail, and then the black goes to the blue power rail. And that's finished with the wirings. The only thing that's left to do is to basically turn it on. So you can see, you can just use this button here to interact with the power supply and with other components like the switch here, on and off. So basically this works. There's a couple of ways now that Crump offers to be able to see what is going on in the circuit, and I think this is one of its biggest strengths. The easiest way is to use those buttons over the side. For example, if you want to see what's happening with voltages, and as you are interacting with the circuit, you can see that the coloring of the components changes depending on the voltage that they convey. So you can see the voltage scale right here from 5 volts to 1000 nanovolts. And as I'm charging or discharging the capacitor, the colors change as well. Now the other thing that you can do, of course, is to use this option here and bring up the scope. So I'm going to click on that button to bring up the scope function, and then click on the capacitor, and that brings up the scope. And just like that, I can now use the switch and interact actually with the switch, turn it on, and you can see voltage drops while the current increases. It's very slow because of the step and the frequency that I've got here, and vice versa. I can now charge and I can discharge. It's pretty awesome to be able to see this. I can go and then have a look at the simulation frequency. Let's say make that 500 Hertz. And you can also independently control the timestamp. Let's go for a 10 millisecond timestamp. Apply, close, and interact with the switch. You can see things now are happening a little faster. It's pretty cool. In my experiments, I tried a few other circuits, and at this level, everything seems to work. The user interface does need a little bit getting used to. For example, if you make a mistake and you want to fix the position of one of those resistors, for example, there's no way to do that other than deleting the incorrect part and then redoing the work. Another thing that I would really like to be able to do is to have multiple scopes and then to assign components or pins to the scope, and or even to have probes up here as part of your tool set, to have probes to be able to pick on a specific pin, not the entire device, but a specific pin, to be able to see what's going on with its voltage, for example, not just the current. Let's say if I want to interact with two things, like if I want to see what's happening with voltage and current on the resistor and on the capacitor itself, the two will be superimposed or be displayed in the same scope, and then you have to just use these buttons to enable or disable the pin or the device that you want to see. Now what we are looking at in the blue kind of turquoise color is the voltage on the resistor. So let's go and charge. See, the voltage started high very quickly, and then the voltage started dropping as the capacitor was charging, and you can see the spike again. It's pretty cool. If I want to see the current that is going through the resistor, right now it's 0. Let's go and charge. It's up. Okay, and then it drops quickly. Let's discharge. No change there. Enable the second resistor, the discharge resistor on the scope. Let's do voltages. Voltage for the charge and the discharge resistor. Charge. Nope. Let's try this side. Let's use the interact tool again. Okay, charge. Discharge. The discharge capacitor is much bigger than the charge capacitor, so it takes a bit longer for that to complete. There you go. Cool. Now the other thing that I discovered is just again, as I said, it's a user interface. It's early days, so it's not as intuitive as I would expect it to be. If you want to interact with multiple components at the same time, let's say I've got these 3 components. Now I expected, because this is visual, to be able to just click on a component to deselect it from the scope, but that's not possible. If you want to deselect it, you have to either remove the checkboxes or undo the checkboxes, or just click on this X button to make it disappear. One other thing that I would like to see is pause, the ability to pause. I'm not sure if this is possible. I'd like to be able to see if I can just stop the simulation in order to spend a bit of time to analyze or to dig into the plotter or the scope view, to be able to even to use things such as cursors, just like you can do with the real oscilloscope. But as far as I know, this is not possible right now. If you go back to the simulation frequency, you can go up to 10 kilohertz. This happened with one of the latest updates, so that you can simulate faster things like microcontrollers even. There is a Arduino that you can simulate in this virtual world. And at this maximum simulation frequency, you can see here 10 kilohertz at a step of 1.5 milliseconds. Simulation works quite well inside the browser. I know that the developer, if you look up on the Steam website, there's a very interesting video that shows a 8-bit CPU being implemented. You can see here there's an 8-bit CPU being simulated inside this simulator, which is very fascinating. So I suggest you have a look at this video. To sum it up, my impression of Crump is that it's really amazing. I'm very impressed that this exists and that it looks as good as this simulator does. I will continue to follow this project as it improves. I'm sure it's going to become really good over the next few months and years, and it could be a very good tool for people, teachers and learners to use in order to work with electronics in a kind of an online 3D immersive environment. If you look at the tools that are available, the passive components, active, various outputs, and of course when you go to digital electronics, there's lots of interesting components here that you can use, plus an entire Arduino Uno that is, or actually an Arduino Nano, sorry, that is being simulated. That means that the scope for using this application to learn electronics is quite wide, and it is getting bigger. So I'm really keen to know what you think about this, if this is a tool that you'd be interested in learning to use. In order to learn electronics. If you would like me to create more content around Crump, especially as it's getting better and more reliable, please let me know in the comments below. Really interested to know what you have to say about Crump. Thanks, and see you soon.